Laurie Crouch, and they are the president and founders of Generation Entertainment. They've produced such movies as The Omega Code, Carmen the Champion, One Night with the King, and now we have The Cross. And what inspired you to make this movie?
Well, you missed a couple of movies. First of all, there was China Cry, there was Noel, soon to be Preacher's Kid. It's an association with Warner Brothers. This film, since you asked that question, I have to give you the actual answer. It was a instantaneous thought of that this story should be told in a theatrical way. And so, all I can tell you is that the inspiration was the fact that I've known Arthur all my life, and then from one heartbeat to the next, we all of a sudden knew that this should be a theatrical story, and ultimately, here we are tonight at the Grauman's Chinese Theater, and I saw this in an instant. And to make it even weirder, the movie was conceived one evening and funded the next day. So, you have to
happen every time.
Yeah. I wish that happened every time, but it was just a miracle. So we were following this path that led us here tonight.
Laurie, talk about your role in this movie as the partner, the marriage partner, and you've just had such an amazing marriage, but also as the business partner.
Well, this story, Arthur's had an impact on my life for 25, 30 years, back when I was young.
You are young?
I would watch him in many circumstances just laying on his face before God, when everybody else was carrying on in the room and he was just over quietly in a corner. And it always touched my heart, and it always made me cry. Something about it touched me inside. And so to actually take his story now, 40 years later, 25 years later, even the documentary he did 20 years ago on his life, because he had just went around the world at the equator 20 years, and now the whole thing's complete. But so the inspiration was just, what else could ever inspire you more than a man doing something like that? But as far as our business together, it is one of those one step at a time. It's just like this film. In the film, Arthur talks about everything. There were so many miracles, millions of little miracles, and
millions of tiny miracles. Yeah.
And that's the way our life is. And I think your life is like that. You can look back and you can see all the little miracles that God. Now, maybe today you can't say, well, today I had this miracle of this. But maybe tomorrow you can look back to yesterday and go, okay, that was a miracle, that happened. And so that's what life is. And everybody has a purpose and a destiny. Everybody has a plan and a walk that God wants them to lead out in their lives. And it's just literally a step at a time. And that's what life is for us.
She didn't answer your question, so I'm gonna answer.
I talked so long. I forgot what her question was.
I'm gonna answer that for you. She is not only my wife, but she also co-produces the films. So, if somebody needs to know what a producer does, the producer makes sure there's a great story with a great script and a great film and great post-production and great actors, and so what she does is she helps make those decisions like a producer does. She co-produces the films, and she does it, we walk it out together. That was what you were looking for.
There you have it.
And I just want to ask you about the artistic style of the movie. I love the way you told the story.
We decided, with 160 hours of footage, that you couldn't make this movie about what Arthur did with the cross. Ultimately, it had to be about what the cross did to Arthur. And so we made the film in a way that could introduce someone to who he is without ever knowing his name, without ever hearing his story. So we start out the film in a way that everyone can identify with him by the end. And I know that to be a fact because there was a Hollywood person here tonight named Van Patten. What was his first name? Jimmy Van Patten. And Jimmy Van Patten has been in the business for many, many years, and he had never even heard his name before. Now, he was here tonight in the premiere, and when he came out, he wanted to know more about Arthur. He wanted to shake his hand. He wanted to meet him. His mother the same, Mrs. Van Patten. And they had never even heard his name before. So the thought that we have told a story in a way that would allow for people that don't know anything about the cross, don't know anything about Arthur Blessed, that don't know anything about this film, to come out and want to meet him, I think we've done it right.
I know. I walked in there and I saw the movie, and it was so touching. It was so powerful. I walked out different. I just walked out different. And I just got to say, that's just amazing. But I want to ask you, since we know all of your credits, how have you grown from the first one, China Cry, to this one, The Cross?
Leonardo da Vinci's first sculpture was not, the Pietra, And I'm sure his first photograph, or the first thing that he painted, was not the Mona Lisa. So ultimately, you have to get better because you learn what not to do again. So I think that I've learned more from movies that I've done in the past that weren't very good. You learn what not to do. And so here we are tonight. This is our 8th motion picture.
Congratulations.
We're thrilled to be here at the Grauman's Chinese, and thank you for the interview.